This is Krista Whitley, CEO of Altitude Products from Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're listening to Professionally Cannabis.
Where do they go, the smoke rings I blow each night? Oh, what do they do, those circles of blue and white?
Hello, loyal listeners. I'm glad you came back. I'm Oscar Houseman, and I introduce Professionally Cannabis when Johnny Weiser is too tipsy to do so.
Good evening, Oscar.
Evening, Johnny, and evening, listeners.
Oscar, why is it the evening?
Yes, it is true. I did lock us out the studio for some matter of hours, but look, we're recording now, so let's start talking about our guest.
Our interview this week is an absolute gem. It's with a real rock star, Krista Whitley, CEO of Altitude Products. I had an absolute blast talking with her.
Absolute blast is the right word. Her logo is a rocket ship, so let's rocket on with the show. Enjoy.
Those circles of blue and white.
Today, I'm delighted to welcome Krista Whitley, CEO of Altitude Products, who have a whole range of CBD products stocked in North America, Europe, and Australasia. Having started the business in her living room in 2015 to having estimated 2019 earnings at over $32 million, I think it's fair to say you're somewhat of an inspiration, Krista. What do you reckon?
Oh, heavens. I don't know that I feel like I'm an inspiration most days. I just feel like I'm relentless at, bringing CBD to the masses.
Yeah, you've done a great job of that. And I think a lot of us are going to be excited to think about, could we move from bedroom entrepreneurs to multi-million dollar businesses in that kind of time? It's pretty exciting growth. And it leads into our traditional first question, which is, how did your professional life lead you to the plant?
Really nothing in my professional life outside of being a scrappy entrepreneur set me up to be involved in the THC and CBD world. I really had spent the first 30 years of my life not believing anything, about a medicinal benefit for THC or CBD. I kind of grew up in a small town and I believed everything that, my parents taught me about drugs being bad. And I was actually in a car accident when I was 30 and my back was just destroyed in that accident. And a friend of mine, after I was on opioids and muscle relaxants, she told me that she'd never seen me so stoned and then handed me a little hand-rolled cigarette of THC. And I smoked it and had the best sleep of my life and was in less pain than I'd ever been. And that's, what became this incredible catalyst for me, really challenging my own beliefs about what THC would do and the power of what I view as plant medicine as a whole. All 113 different cannabinoids benefits for people. And so it set me on this fantastic trajectory to eventually leave my job, my comfortable job as a chief marketing officer at an advertising agency, and go all in on my own dream. And I, at the time, thought it would just be me with my laptop on my couch as a single mom. Never imagined in a million years that it would grow to become what it is today.
And how long did it take you to decide to go all in? Because back then, it was far less of an established industry.
Yeah, back in 2015, here in the state of Nevada, we were just really seeing the beginnings of a medical marijuana program. And when I looked at where I thought there was tremendous opportunity to blaze a trail in the mainstream, it kind of took me less than a month, really deciding I was going to focus exclusively on this because there was so few advertising agencies and marketing firms. And we started as an advertising agency. And, really we still are an advertising agency that just happens to have created 11 different CBD brands and, be really brilliant at creating formulations and have 360 different products. It was a very quick decision because I just saw such tremendous opportunity and it felt very much like the Wild West. And, there was just so much opportunity to really help educate people like myself who were worried that if they smoked the devil's lettuce, it would remove all ambition. And clearly that has not happened. My A-type drive is still there. And, if anything, it's just helped me to live a life that is in much less pain. And I have a much higher quality of life since my automobile accident.
And you mentioned that you've got over 160 products out there. Could you tell us a little bit about the range? Obviously not all 160 or so, but sort of a little bit about the variety of products that are under your umbrella.
Sure. We have everything from our black belt CBD Recover Rub that we worked with UFC legend Frank Mir on, all the way to our tinctures, which go all the way up to 5,000 milligrams, specifically to help boost immune system and reduce inflammation and improve your quality of life. So for us, it's everything from high-end luxury skincare for women with our Bella line to martial artists to baby boomers. We're big believers in the power of plant medicine, specifically when it's incorporated into your daily life, when it's in your, face cream that you're already using, not just minimizing inflammation and helping with anti-aging, but also perhaps maybe adding a calmer aspect to your Monday.
And for your own pain relief, post that car accident, is it mainly just medicinal cannabis you're using for pain relief, or are you using any of the product within Altitude?
I haven't used medicinal marijuana in probably the last 2.5 years because as we transitioned into using CBD products, we really found that I was able to accomplish the same benefit with proven proprietary essential oil blends combined with CBD. And so for me, my back pain is completely managed with our CBD gel cap every morning. I take a tincture usually at night with dinner. And then I am a huge believer in all of our CBD topical products that really help me to live a pain-free life and frankly, to be able to work the 18-hour days that, the world's fastest growing industry, which is what CBD is, demand of any CEO. My daughters, both take CBD on a daily basis. And as a mom, it's so important to me that the products that they're putting in their body are natural, that they're vegan, that they are completely THC free. And that's why we test all of our products to make sure, because I don't want my 11-year-old to have to worry about, ever consuming THC.
And on the subject of the products, because you gave what to me sounded like a very good endorsement of the products, but I think you'd probably be unable to say those on the packaging. So here in the UK, at least, it's very strict about the claims you can make. So I just wonder...
Yes, and I would tell you, none of our claims for any of our products, I can only share certainly my own anecdotal experience. And, I think on Facebook, every one of our brands has thousands of raving fans around the globe who can share their own stories. But, it is the same, certainly in the UK and in the United States. We don't make any of those claims. But one of the benefits of all of our products is we're using proven proprietary essential oil formulas. So the things we can say are very clearly that menthol helps to cool muscles. So we know that, there's certain aspects that we certainly can make claims related to the essential oils. I think that certainly the preclinical research is, again, forecasting what I've known for 4 years, which is that CBD certainly has some tremendous benefits. And I anticipate over the course of the next 2 to 3 years that we will be able to actually make those claims. So for now, you get my fantastic story and, hopefully I hope all of you try it yourselves and then you'll have your own story to share with everyone in your life.
In order to get down there, do you envision having to go down the pharmaceutical paths yourself? Or do you think it would work out such that you could get clinical evidence of CBD's effectiveness in, let's say, inflammation, which I think the preclinical is pretty strong already, and then that would allow it? Or will you have to become another Bayer or GlaxoSmithKline?
And there's really two segments to CBD. There is certainly the GW Pharmaceuticals and Epidiolex, and they are certainly looking at the true big pharma aspects and the actual medicinal benefits of CBD. They are out there doing amazing research and, transformative things. I would never make any claim that our wellness products are going to help with epilepsy or Parkinson's or schizophrenia. That's really not the segment that we're in the industry. For us, we're specifically focused on CBD infused consumer packaged goods. We're looking at CBD as an added benefit ingredient, much like aloe vera in the 1970s, right? There's some fantastic natural benefits to that. We really view what we're doing as helping the general public to incorporate CBD into products they'd already be using. At night when you're putting on a foot cream, there's some fantastic preclinical research around how CBD helps your skin to retain moisture, to heal as an anti-inflammatory. So our goal is not to become big pharma. And I think there's some fantastic leaders in that space that are already blazing those trails. So we're pretty firmly planted in our segment of the universe.
And in your segment of the universe, because my ears perked up at the mention of CPG, that to me feels like the last big hurdle for an institutional investor to get in. Do you have designs around growth based on perhaps seeking this investment? Maybe we should be talking about your Series A and the goals from that.
Absolutely. I started this company on my couch. I always joke that we had to be profitable on day one because there was no investor. It was me, a dream, and my laptop. And today we've grown into a company that did, 5.7 million last year. We just made delivery in early April with our first TJ Maxx and Marshalls orders throughout the United States, and are continuing to blaze a lot of trails with mainstream distribution in the consumer packaged goods. From that perspective, we're really focused on continuing to grow, and a big part of that is jet fuel. We have a rocket ship. It's Altitude Products for a reason. And we're focused on raising $10 million on our Series A round. So right now we've been in back-to-back meetings, meeting with more institutional-minded investors who are very excited about the prospect of potentially having CBD products in a Walmart or a Nordstrom. And I think certainly as we've seen with both Bergdorf and Barney's and Sephora, several that are already, leaning in that direction. And I think that's going to continue to grow. I anticipate, here within the next 6 months, there's going to be a lot of announcements, not just from our company, but from a lot of companies that are in our space who are really proving out that the average American really is looking for quality CBD products.
And with regard to that investment raise that you guys have got going, what type of investor are you looking for? Something that we'll touch upon a little bit later is I know Altitude are a very diverse organization. You've got an all-female board, 80% of your workforce is LGBTQ. Do the drivers behind this also have an impact on the type of investors you're looking to bring into the team?
What we're looking for as far as a Series A investor, we're looking for someone who can appreciate the tremendous opportunity that the industry presents, who can appreciate, both the advantages and the opportunities that a fast growth organization in the fastest growing industry presents. So we're always looking for what I call smart money, people who already are very excited about the potential for this industry. And we're looking for people who perhaps, have a background in consumer packaged goods or can appreciate the diversity of our organization and why having an all-female board and having everyone from age 21 to 65 and a multitude of different ethnic groups and religious beliefs on our team helps to make us a stronger consumer packaged goods organization. So, I think that's really ultimately what we're looking for in investors is just people who can appreciate our passion and who are willing to, help fuel our growth.
And the last one on investors, is there any type of investor that you'd say thanks, but no thanks to?
I think as an entrepreneur, it's been really important for us to make sure that we're finding people who share our values. And we take our values very seriously. 100% of our employees are all shareholders in the company. And so it wouldn't be a fit for us for any investor who were to come in and decide that they wanted to change who we are. Certainly, we appreciate that what got us here is not going to get us where we need to go. But I think at the end of the day, it's really about finding people who just are sharing that passion. And ultimately, if you're passionate about the same things that we are, and we can all agree that the rocket ship is headed, far out into the galaxy, then I think it makes it really easy to do a lot of very good business together and for the investors to feel very appreciated as well. And so we really like investors to be very active. Every week I do investor calls and we do investor updates on a weekly basis just because things change so quickly. I couldn't imagine, a monthly update would be a 10-page email because, just this week, we've had all kinds of excitement happen. And so I think it's why we have happy investors today who feel like they're well informed and who feel very confident in the flight plan of our rocket ship.
I imagine they might be happy with the returns as well. But I've got a question about building your rocket team. So what are your criteria for getting in the building? I assume you don't subject people to zero gravity, but you must have.
Yes, all of our astronauts, when they start, I always tell people there's only one constant here, and you have to be weird. A lot of our employees, every single one is so different. When we have team meetings and we do team activities, you don't look out and everyone doesn't look like they're, all of the same robot factory. Everyone is very different. They have such different backgrounds and they bring so much to the team. One thing that's really interesting is we always talk about the fact that we have such a large group of LGBTQ plus community members in our leadership team, but 25% of our team are also former military. And, we love veterans because veterans firsthand can speak to how CBD has really changed their life. And they're very mission oriented. So, as far as getting things done around here, I would tell you they are really the heart and soul of that engine that makes sure that we're ahead of schedule all the time. And that we're exceeding expectations. So from that perspective, I think we start with weird, then, we go with our core values, 3 core values, spirit of service. So when they walk through the door, they want to start with the question, how can I help? Even if it's outside of their job description. Positive attitude is another. We know we have a team behind us and we love what we're doing, which makes it easy to put in that extra effort. And every single one is entrepreneurial. They don't see challenges as mountains that can't be overcome. They see them as opportunities to learn how to climb. And so for a lot of our people, we're very committed not just to their professional growth, but also their personal growth. They have to constantly be challenging themselves and doing things on a very frequent basis that scare the hell out of them. And, learning how to swim in the deep end, that's pretty much standard around here. And so I think that's really what we're looking for. And I think that's how we've been able to be so successful so quickly.
And I touched upon it before, but you have an all-female board and a workforce that's 80% LGBTQ, which is awesome. Now, was this an active decision?
Wait, did you say 80%?
80%. Have I got that right, Krista?
Yeah. So, it is. You do have that right. And I would tell you, it's very conscious. I knew, as I looked at the numbers from the most recent Forbes list about women on the board of directors, there just needed to be more leaders. And I'm, a single mom of 2 little girls who are 11 and 10. And I really believe in being the change you want to see in the world. You asked earlier about, investors that I've told no. I mean, there's a couple, and one was a guy who said, there was no value in an all-female board and I should ditch that and he'd write me a check if I put him on the board. And, that was early on. It would have been really easy to take his money. And I said no, because I'm just so deeply committed to that. And when you look at our board of directors, these aren't just amazing leaders. They're just amazing women. Our most recent addition is a countess. It was the first royal person I'd ever met in my life. I grew up in a small farm town, reading about, a Princess Di in People magazine. So Countess Wendy has just been wonderful and has really helped us to open up the EU and so many markets, and is just really passionate about being part of potential change in the industry. So, we're really, really passionate and very excited about everything that we're doing to really just be that change we want to see in the world.
So something I was reading a while back was that the percentage of women in executive roles within the cannabis industry fell from 36% in 2015 to 27% in 2017. Now, a more recent study has revised that 27% down to 17%. Why do you think that is? And how do you think the cannabis industry can break the shackles of the traditional patriarchal structures?
It doesn't surprise me that the cannabis industry is in decline in female leadership. And typically, publicly traded organizations in the cannabis space are what we call the men in suits. So the men in suits, and they walk through the door and, they want to talk to us about potentially acquiring us. I had one fellow who shall remain nameless, who told me he just really wanted to acquire us because he needed some ladies. And I was like, oh heavens. I felt like it was that horrible scene in Blues Brothers. I came for the women. And, it was awful. It was the shortest tour I think I've ever given in my life. But it doesn't surprise me. We're seeing a lot of consolidation. I think cannabis as an industry has a unique opportunity to not end up looking a lot like the Silicon Valley. And I think we're very lucky because early on we had visionaries like Jane West who created Women Grow. And they've really emphasized why diversity is important. And it's not just about having women, and it's not just about, having people of all ethnic backgrounds and religious backgrounds. It's about really building organizations that are more reflective of our consumer base, which is that level of diversity. I see people using my products who are 65. I see people using our products who are 21. And so from that perspective, I think it's really important that the people that you have contributing to creating those products really reflect that. Otherwise, what we're going to end up with is a bunch of products that were created by a bunch of guys in suits for guys in suits. And I don't know that that's really reflective of the power of THC and CBD and all of those cannabinoids. So how do we support that? I think you vote with every dollar, right? Every dollar of a product that you buy. Certainly I appreciate the consumers who are very conscious about seeking out women-owned brands and minority-led brands, and who are very interested in investing and supporting that level of diversity, because that's really how we're going to be able to diversify what the leadership looks like across the industry.
So I take from that there's a strength to having your consumer base reflected in your team. And you talked about having your European Countess on board to expand your European operations. I'd just like to hear more about that. Are you going to be manufacturing in Europe? Are you presumably going to be serving quite a few European regions? How's that going to look for Altitude?
Absolutely. We are actively, I'm spending a lot of time in London and, throughout the EU. And right now, we're really laying out what that plan looks like. But certainly by Q4, we do anticipate to be manufacturing and distributing our products. Right now, we have retailers that we export to, and that has been very successful for us.
And where can our listeners get your products in Europe?
Yeah, we have several gyms carry our products there in the UK, which has been wonderful. And then we actually have amazing partners in Greece as well. So we've already started that expansion, on a very small level. And we'll continue to expand that as, we go through this coming year.
And why Greece? I understand why the UK is important, but what drew you to that sunny city, or sunny country, sorry?
Yeah, so, when we created our Black Belt CBD line, Greece, there was several gyms in the Greek market that were just very on fire for everything we were doing. And they kept asking. I had one gal who, came all the way out to the Jiu-Jitsu World tournament because she was so excited to hear more and bring products back. I think she took back a suitcase of products. Again, not only is our team led by, a great deal of passion, but I think it's also been that we find our retailers have an insatiable appetite for what we're doing, and they really believe in what we're doing, so much so that they're coming from foreign countries with suitcases. And so that gave us a clear indication that there was certainly demand and that it was a country that we needed to focus on.
With regard to Europe and the regulations that are housed within the many countries in this continent, how is your approach to bringing Altitude products over here and branding and marketing Altitude products in Europe changed as to what it looks like in the States?
It's really funny. I was actually telling our marketing manager and I were talking about this the other day because, in America, we think nothing of saying the world's best cup of coffee, right? Everything in America is just huge and in your face and audacious, just very, it has a lot of audacity, right?
On the road I live on, there's actually 3 king of falafels, so we need to put them to the test.
Yeah, so I think certainly, what we have found is that certainly things are more subtle in the UK and throughout the EU. And so, we've tried to be very respectful and do a huge amount of research. I wouldn't say that we're being cautious, but I think we're just being very conscious about being very respectful and really understanding that we can't treat, the UK, we can't treat Greece like it's California or, just another state. Things need to feel like it was created exclusively for that particular market. And then from a regulatory standpoint, we're very lucky to have amazing advisors who I brought on board very early on. As an entrepreneur, I just knew that I didn't know what I didn't know. So what I sought out were people who were smarter and more experienced than I was. And because I sought out really smart, really savvy people, they've been able to guide me. And so I have yet to find myself at a place where I don't have the answer and no one on my team has the answer. Instead, I find myself being able to reach out to these very qualified leaders in the space who are not just the ones interpreting the regulations, but they are the authors of some of the regulations. One of the authors of the legalization regulations here in Nevada is literally an advisor on our board. And so that has really helped us to make sure that we're not only anticipating what are the regulatory environments around the world today, but where do we foresee those going? Because as an organization that's moving so quickly, we have to be able to foresee, okay, well, if the requirements today are A, where is Z going to be a year from now? So that ability to be nimble is actually really more important than the idea. And I think for a lot of people that are just getting on board with CBD today, I think what they're missing is that you have to be as nimble as possible, because just when you think you've mastered it, a regulatory environment will change, and now all of a sudden you have to turn on a dime and go in a different direction.
And with regard to the advice that your advisors have been giving you, are there any countries or regions that they've really said to you, Krista, I know you'd love to be operating here, but sort of do not pass go, do not collect £200. It's not worth our while.
Well, I think there's, let's be real. Yeah. I think as an entrepreneur, it's my job to look at the globe and say, okay, what I really am going for here is world domination. My advisors say, all right, one step at a time. Let's conquer America, conquer North America. Let's conquer, the EU. Okay, then maybe we can go to Australia. I think I'm at this point just looking for any excuse to spend more time in Australia because, I love everything about Australia. And so, certainly there are markets that I think are probably not on our plan for 2019. But if you talk to me in a year and I haven't been spending more time in Australia and New Zealand, then I would tell you that would surprise me. So I think there's just, certain markets that are not necessarily as low-hanging fruit as others. But the truth of the matter is that this is a plant and these are products that ultimately will be a global standard, I think, across the board. And we're certainly seeing that just on the amount of international orders that we get through all of our websites. So if you go to cbdcaring.com, we actually do free shipping worldwide. So we ship to 128 countries and it's completely free. And so what we're seeing and what that's allowed us to do is see that there is demand. I mean, we're shipping to countries we never in a million years would have thought, would be very excited about a CBD personal lubricant. But goodness gracious, I'm selling, knob polish by the case. So, I think, you have to be open to those surprises.
Which is the region ordering it that you were not expecting to have such a demand?
Yes, knob polish is actually a huge seller in the UK. We ship out, I think I shipped out 4 cases last time I spoke and talked about it. It's usually, funny enough, I think some of the people in the audience, they just love to give that away as a gift.
It's perfectly titled.
Thank you. We keep it classy.
I imagine Saudi Sephora maybe not stocking that one.
Who knows? It's exciting that women can drive now, and I'm an eternal optimist, guys. So from my perspective, you just never know where this is going to take us.
And we talked about the global supply chain as an end product, but I'm also interested in going up the value chain. Right now, do you cultivate your own plants for CBD, or do you ship it in? And either way, how do you see the market going? Because we get a lot of talk on the show about low-cost producers, everyone growing tons of CBD in Colombia. What do you think is going to happen?
Sure. I definitely think that we're going to see, and I certainly have seen, the cost of CBD and industrial hemp-extracted CBD decline significantly compared to even 3 years ago, where a kilo may have run $10,000. We're currently now paying around $3,500 to $4,000. I think that that's going to continue in decline. My vision, I got to tell you, I grew up in a small farm town where I appreciated the tireless work of farmers. And I knew I definitely did not want to grow up and be one. So for me, we are not going to necessarily be an organization that grows industrial hemp. But I think there's lots of people who do that far better than I ever will. Same thing, I got a D in chemistry. I probably should not be in a lab extracting it. But there's some fantastic PhDs on our advisory board who provide us with high quality, low cost CBD for all of our product formulations. And then really, my first company was a chain of pet boutiques. And I appreciate how much work it is to do the retailing and actually be the one owning the retailer. So we exist primarily as a marketing and consumer packaged goods organization. So what we do better than anyone else is formulate effective products for consumers to incorporate into their daily lives. Excellent brands where the story really resonates. Whether it's our female brand Bella that I created for my daughter Bella, who suffered with severe eczema and was constantly on steroid creams, and now has been steroid free for 3 years, or if it's black belts. And, we're really talking about what is 20 plus years of being a UFC Hall of Famer do to your body. And so that at the end of the day is where we exist. And, we really want to focus on doing what we do better than anyone else so that we can just continue to support all of the consumers out there who are so desperate for that good quality product.
And bridging the gap between what goes into the product and regulation. With regard to the regulatory space, what would be the dream scenario for you in which, for example, open access was there whilst eliminating snake oil from the CBD ecosystem?
Yeah, I think it's really important across the board that we start having federally mandated and regulated testing. I think this is just critically important. We don't have that here in the United States for any of the supplements or vitamins that we have. So you could conceivably be purchasing vitamin E and it's just olive oil. I think there's a lot of history behind why that is that way. But I think that we need to really lead the way. And it's one of the reasons I'm such a huge supporter of all regulations, because it is so critically important for the consumers and also for our industry to have legitimacy by making sure that we have that testing and that consumers have easy access to quality information. And so I certainly am a huge supporter of that. I hope that that is the approach that all regulators take to make sure that, our consumers are going to have a high level of confidence in our products. And we do that as an organization. But certainly, I don't know that everyone is doing that. And I would love to see that industry-wide to really make it an equal playing field for everyone.
And how do you feel about that, the tie-in from the medical marijuana industry to the CBD industry? Is that a world that you enjoy being part of? Or is it something you think your customers would distance themselves from? Perhaps the grandmothers who take the product for inflammation probably don't think of themselves as Bob Marley listening stoners.
So I would say, I think, across the board, I don't think that THC consumers look like all the stereotypes that Hollywood has been pushing for years. And I think certainly, what we're seeing with CBD is very much the same. I don't think that it's about, putting CBD and THC together or not together. What it is really about taking a much more holistic approach where we refer to THC and CBD as plant medicine, because THC and CBD are 2 of 113 identified cannabinoids. So when people are asking me constantly about what the future looks like for consumers, it's about identifying, researching, and productizing the other 111 of their friends so that we can really incorporate a more natural way of living. And I think from the consumer standpoint, I think all consumers around the world are just looking to live less stressful lives, less anxious lives, lives with less pain. What they're really looking for is a quality of life so that they can play with their kids, spend time with their loved ones, and really live their best life and have products that are going to help them do that much more efficiently. And so from our perspective, we're always looking for ways to just really help people live their best lives. I think that at the end of the day, that's really what the entire industry needs to be focused on doing. And so I don't think it's really about, do we lump CBD and THC together? I think, we really should start to look at it from a much more natural, holistic approach of approaching it like it's plant medicine, because that's really what it is.
And one final question for any of our listeners who find themselves in a similar position to you back in 2015, setting up their first enterprise in cannabis. What's the advice you'd give them?
So I think it's really about knowing the end. The plot, how you get there can change, but the end does not. Remember that pressure is a privilege. And so you want to write down all of your goals, share them with everyone, and then just commit yourself to making it happen. For me, it's always been when, not if. And I think that's so critically important because it's not that failure is ever an option. And when you remove the opportunity to fail, then all you have is forward, and every, stumble along the way is just part of the journey. And again, just becomes a plot twist. So, really fully commit yourself and make sure that, you stay true to who you are and write those goals down, tell everybody, and, just go for it. That would be the best advice. I still have my 3 goals that I started, and it I've exceeded my own expectations. So I continue to have to think bigger and even challenge myself even more as a leader every single day.
Krista, it's been a pleasure joining you in your rocket ship. Thank you for joining us on Professionally Cannabis.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Where do they go, the smoke rings I blow each night? Oh, what do they do, those circles of blue and white?
Well, listeners, I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as we did, learning a lot about building great CBD brands and also the value of diversity and equality right at the top of a cannabis business.
Yeah, and that certainly won't be the last time you'll hear these themes on Professionally Cannabis. But for the time being, we'll see you guys next week.
Ta-ra!